Here's something nobody wants to hear. You've been trying to change your life backwards. You set goals, make plans, take action, hustle harder, and somehow, you keep ending up in the same place, staring at the same problems, feeling the same frustration. And the worst part? Deep down, you're starting to wonder if maybe you're just not cut out for the life you actually want. But what if I told you that's not the problem at all? What if the entire system you've been taught, work harder, think positive, push through, is actually designed to keep you stuck in the same loop? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't think your way into a new reality. You can't hustle your way into a different frequency. And you definitely can't force the universe to deliver something your entire nervous system is screaming no to. The real shift, the one that actually rewrites your reality, happens in a place most people never access. It's not in your to-do list. It's not in your affirmations. It's in a quantum switch that 99% of people don't even know exists. And once you flip it, everything changes. Not someday. Not when you finally deserve it. Right now. See, there's a gap between who you are and who you're trying to become. And that gap is filled with one thing: the state you're operating from moment to moment. You can chase success while feeling like a failure. You can pursue love while believing you're unlovable. You can want freedom while living in a prison of your own thoughts. And as long as there's that mismatch, reality will keep reflecting the frequency you're actually broadcasting, not the one you're pretending to have. But here's where it gets interesting, and controversial. What if you could feel successful before the success shows up? What if you could embody freedom before the circumstances change? What if you could access the emotional state of already having what you desire? Hold it for just 20 seconds at a time throughout your day, and watch reality bend to match it? Sounds too easy, right? That's exactly why most people never do it. They'd rather spend years grinding, struggling, and suffering because at least that feels like progress. But the people who actually break through, the ones who seem to effortlessly attract opportunities, relationships, and results, they know something you're about to learn. They've found the quantum switch. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to flip it. Not in theory. Not someday when you're ready. Today. Right now. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover the one shift that collapses the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And if you actually apply it, your reality will start responding within 24 to 72 hours. So the only question is, are you ready to stop trying to change your life the hard way and start speaking the language the universe actually understands? Most people think attention is just a spotlight. You shine it on something, and that's it. But here's what nobody tells you. Your attention isn't passive. It's not just lighting up what's already there. It's actually selecting what gets to show up in your experience. Think of reality like one of those massive streaming platforms. Netflix, HBO Max, whatever you use. There are thousands of titles sitting there in the catalog, but nothing plays until you click. Your attention is that click. It collapses all the possibilities into one single stream that starts rolling on your screen. And here's the kicker. If you're not deliberately choosing, there's an autoplay function running in the background. Your old programming, your default patterns, your autopilot mind just queuing up the same stuff you've always watched. The quantum switch, or what some call the quantum key, is this. It's the moment you stop being the thought and start observing the thought. It's when you step back, take the remote, and consciously hold a feeling, a state, a frequency long enough for reality to catch up and match it. You're not trying to force anything or fake it till you make it. You're literally changing the signal you're broadcasting, and the field responds. Joe Dispenza talks about this in his work, how the moment you shift from identifying with your thoughts to witnessing them, you access a different operating system. You're no longer the wave crashing around. You become the ocean deciding which wave to send. That's power. That's the switch. Let's make this concrete. Imagine you're scrolling through that streaming app, frustrated because nothing feels right. You keep clicking on the same type of show. The drama, the chaos, the predictable plot where everything goes wrong. That's your default timeline, the one your subconscious has been selecting for years. But the second you pause, take a breath, and consciously choose a different vibe, a documentary that inspires you, a comedy that lifts you, a story that makes you feel alive, you've just activated the quantum key. You didn't change what was available, you changed what you allowed to play. And once that new content starts streaming, your brain begins to believe it's possible. Your body starts to feel it. Your reality starts to reshape around that frequency. The catalog was always full of options. You just learned how to click differently. Now here's where it gets interesting. You can't just click once and expect everything to shift permanently. You've got to sustain that choice long enough for the algorithm, your subconscious, your nervous system, the field itself, to recognize it as the new preference. It's like training the recommendation engine. If you keep returning to the same type of content, the platform learns. It starts suggesting more of that. Same thing with your reality. Hold the feeling of peace, clarity, abundance, freedom, whatever state you're calling in, and hold it consistently, even for just 20 seconds at a time throughout your day, and watch how the suggestions change. Opportunities you didn't see before suddenly appear. People respond to you differently. Doors open. It's not magic, it's physics. You shifted the frequency, and the field matched it. But here's the trap most people fall into. They think about what they want instead of feeling into it. They stay up in their heads, analyzing, strategizing, worrying if it's working. That's still autoplay. That's still the old program running. The quantum key isn't turned by thought alone. It's turned by embodied feeling, by a coherent state that your whole system recognizes as true. When you can sit in the feeling of already having what you desire, even before the evidence shows up, you're no longer asking reality for permission. You're giving it instructions. And just like that streaming service, once the signal is clear, the content starts to load. You don't need to see the whole movie yet. You just need to trust that you hit play on the right one. You can't hear the whisper of intuition when there's a rock concert happening in your head. That's the truth most people don't want to admit. They're so buried under the noise of their own mental chatter that they can't even tell the difference between their true desires and the recycled fears their mind keeps playing on repeat. Quietude isn't about forcing yourself into some Zen monk state or pretending everything's fine when it's not. It's about descending below the surface chaos, like a diver who pushes through the crashing waves at the shoreline and suddenly finds himself in calm, clear water. The storm is still happening up top, but down here, it's silent, it's spacious. And in that space, you can finally access the field, the place where all possibilities exist before your thoughts collapse them into one narrow experience. Here's how you do it, and it's simpler than you think. Take 3 slow breaths. In through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 4, out through your mouth for 6. Feel your shoulders drop. Seriously, right now, notice how much tension you're holding there, and let it go. Then ground yourself. Feel your feet on the floor, the weight of your body in the chair, the temperature of the air on your skin. Now here's the trick that actually works. Name 3 sounds you can hear in your environment. The hum of the fridge, a car passing outside, the tick of a clock. This simple act pulls you out of the thought stream and drops you into presence. Your nervous system gets the message. We're here, we're safe, we're not running from a tiger. And once your body believes that, it stops pumping stress hormones and starts opening the door to coherence. You'll know you've entered quietude when your body gives you the signals. Your jaw loosens. Most people clench it all day without realizing. Your breath deepens and moves lower into your belly instead of staying shallow in your chest. There's a subtle shift, almost like the air pressure changes in the room, and suddenly you're not trying so hard. That's the sweet spot. That's where the magic happens. It's not about staying there for an hour, or reaching some perfect meditative state. Even 60 seconds of true quietude rewires your brain more than 60 minutes of distracted, trying to meditate. The divers who go deep know this. You don't fight the ocean, you move with it. You find the calm layer beneath the turbulence, and rest there. Even if just for a moment. And from that restful place, you can see clearly what's actually happening instead of just reacting to the waves. Once you've found that quiet space beneath the noise, the next step is learning to watch your mind without becoming it. This is where most people stumble, because we've been trained our whole lives to believe we are our thoughts. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and instantly you're not just having an angry thought. You are angry. Your boss sends a passive-aggressive email, and you're not just noticing anxiety, you are anxious. But here's the shift that changes everything. You're not the wave, you're the scientist standing on the shore, observing the wave. You're not the weather pattern, you're the meteorologist tracking it. The moment you can step back and label what's happening without attaching your identity to it, you've just activated a superpower that most people never discover. Here's the practice, and it's deceptively simple. When a thought pops up, don't engage with it, don't analyze it, don't build a story around it, just label it. Say to yourself, thinking. When an emotion rises, name it. Anxiety, frustration, excitement. When you feel a physical sensation, tightness in your chest, tension in your shoulders, acknowledge it, sensation. That's it. No negotiation, no deep dive into why you feel that way or what it means about you. Just name it and let it pass through like clouds moving across the sky. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches this in his mindfulness work. The act of naming creates separation, and separation creates choice. You can't choose your response when you're drowning in the experience, but the second you step back and observe, suddenly, you're free. The trap people fall into here is thinking that observation means suppression. They confuse watching a thought with pushing it away or pretending it doesn't exist. That's not what this is. If you're angry, you're angry. Observe it. Feel it in your body. Name it. But don't let it drive the car. Don't let it make your decisions or dictate your next move. There's a huge difference between, I notice I'm feeling frustrated right now, and I am frustrated, and therefore I'm going to fire off that email I'll regret tomorrow. One keeps you in the driver's seat, the other hands the wheel to a temporary emotional state that'll be gone in 20 minutes. Try this right now. Notice whatever thought just crossed your mind as you're reading this, and simply say in your head, thinking. Feel the space that opens up? That's the gap where transformation lives. That's where you stop being the autopilot program and start being the one who chooses which program to run. Now we're getting to the heart of it, the language the field actually speaks. And here's the plot twist. The universe doesn't respond to your words, your affirmations, or your vision boards. It responds to your feeling state. Your emotional frequency is the signal you're broadcasting 24/7, and reality is just the echo coming back. Most people are walking around feeling lack while talking about abundance, feeling fear while visualizing success, feeling unworthy while asking for love. And they wonder why nothing changes. It's like trying to tune into a rock station while your dial is set to classical. The signal doesn't match the request. The quantum key only turns when you can drop into the feeling of already having what you desire right now, before any evidence shows up in the physical world. Here's the question that unlocks everything. How does it feel to already be safe, to already be free, to already be clear, successful, loved, whatever it is you're calling in? Not how will it feel someday when it happens. How does it feel now, in this moment, as if it's already done? Close your eyes for 20 seconds and run this protocol. Visualize one simple scene where your desire is already real. Maybe it's checking your bank account and seeing the number you want. Maybe it's having a conversation where you feel completely confident and at ease. Maybe it's waking up next to someone who loves you exactly as you are. Pick one scene, make it vivid, and then, this is crucial, anchor it into a physical sensation. Feel warmth spreading across your chest. Feel your spine straighten with quiet confidence. Feel your shoulders relax because there's nothing left to prove. That sensation is your login credential. Your thoughts are just the password hint. Helpful, but not the actual access code. Let's make this practical, because theory without application is just entertainment. Before you send that difficult email, before you walk into that meeting, before you have that conversation you've been avoiding, pause. Take 10 deep breaths and drop into the state you want to embody. Not the state you're currently in, nervous, defensive, worried, but the state of the version of you who's already handled this successfully. What does that version feel like in their body? Grounded? Calm? Clear? Find that frequency and lock into it for even 60 seconds before you act. Joe Dispenza's research shows that when you generate a coherent emotional state before taking action, you're literally reorganizing your brain's neural pathways in real time. You're not faking confidence. You're becoming the person who naturally operates from that state. And here's what nobody tells you. The external action you take from that elevated state will be completely different than the action you take from fear or lack. Same situation, different frequency, entirely different outcome. So right now, pause and ask yourself, what's your sensation anchor? Is it a warm glow in your solar plexus? A tingling in your fingertips? A sense of expansion in your chest? Find it, name it, and that becomes your shortcut back to the frequency that reshapes everything. The biggest mistake people make with this work is thinking it's something you do for 10 minutes in the morning and then forget about for the rest of the day. They meditate, they visualize, they feel good for a hot second, and then they step back into their regular life and wonder why nothing's shifting. Here's the truth. Meditation isn't the practice. Living is the practice. You can spend an hour generating the most beautiful, coherent state in your quiet room. But if you lose it the second someone cuts you off in traffic or your inbox explodes, you're just rehearsing a feeling you never actually embody. The real transformation happens when you learn to carry that state with you as you move through your day, when you can hold your frequency while washing dishes, answering emails, sitting in boring meetings, dealing with difficult people. That's when you stop being someone who does the work and become someone who is the work. Here's how you make it stick without turning your life into a full-time meditation retreat. Use the rule of 10 seconds. Every time you see a specific visual cue, a sticker on your laptop, your watch hitting the top of the hour, a red light while driving, drop back into your chosen state for just 10 seconds. That's it, not 10 minutes, 10 seconds. Breathe, feel the sensation anchor you identified earlier, let it flood your system, then go back to what you were doing. Do this 20, 30, 40 times throughout your day, and you're literally training your nervous system to default to coherence instead of chaos. It's like those old school metal filings demonstrations in science class. Remember when the teacher would put iron shavings on paper and hold a magnet underneath, and all the particles would instantly align? That's what's happening in your energy field every time you re-anchor. You're pulling everything back into alignment with the frequency you've chosen. And here's the secret that changes everything. Keep 5% of your attention on your breath at all times, no matter what you're doing. You're in a conversation? 5% on the breath. Cooking dinner? 5% on the breath. Scrolling your phone? 5% on the breath. This split attention does something profound. It keeps one foot in the field while the other foot handles the 3D world. You're no longer fully hijacked by external circumstances, because part of you is always tethered to the calm, coherent center. It's like having a background app running that constantly recalibrates your frequency. And from that place, you'll notice something wild. The actions you take start to feel different, lighter, more aligned. You send the email that needed to be sent. You make the call you've been avoiding. You set the boundary that's been missing. Not because you forced yourself, but because when you're operating from coherence, the aligned action becomes the easy action. The universe isn't fighting you anymore. It's flowing with you. So set up your visual cues today. Put a small dot on your phone screen, set an hourly chime, stick a post-it on your bathroom mirror. And every time you see it, 10 seconds. That's the bridge between knowing this stuff and actually living it. Let's talk about why this actually works in real life, beyond the theory and the feel-good concepts. There's a principle in quantum physics called the observer effect. The act of observing something changes its behavior. Scientists have proven this in labs with particles, but here's what they don't tell you in school. The same principle applies to your daily experience. Where you place your focus, what you give your attention to, literally selects which version of reality gets to unfold. It's not mystical, it's mechanical. Your brain is processing 11 million bits of information per second, but your conscious mind can only handle about 40. So your focus acts as a filter, deciding what makes it through and what gets ignored. And whatever makes it through becomes your experience, your evidence, your reality. Change the filter, change the experience. It's that straightforward. Picture two versions of the same morning. Morning A. You wake up, immediately grab your phone, scroll through news and messages, see 3 problems that need solving, and before you've even gotten out of bed, your nervous system is flooded with cortisol. You're in survival mode. Your brain is now scanning for threats, for what's wrong, for what needs to be fixed. And guess what you find all day? More problems, more stress, more evidence that life is hard. That's not because life is hard, it's because you tuned your antenna to the frequency of struggle, and the field delivered exactly what you were looking for. Now here's morning B. You wake up, keep the phone off for the first 10 minutes, take 3 deep breaths, Drop into your chosen state. Maybe it's peace, maybe it's confidence, maybe it's gratitude, and you hold that frequency for just 20 seconds. You feel it in your body before you do anything else. Now your brain is primed differently. It's scanning for alignment, for flow, for opportunities. And suddenly you notice the kind text from a friend, the unexpected solution to yesterday's problem, the green lights on your commute. Same life, different focus, entirely different timeline. Here's the thing that'll blow your mind. The problems from morning A still exist in morning B. They didn't disappear. But your relationship to them changes, and therefore your response changes, and therefore the outcome changes. When you're in a coherent state, you handle challenges from a place of clarity instead of panic. You see solutions you couldn't see before because your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for creativity and problem solving, is actually online instead of shut down by stress. Bruce Lipton's research on epigenetics proves this. Your perception of your environment changes your biology. Same environment, different perception, different genetic expression. So here's your 24-hour challenge, and it's non-negotiable if you actually want to see this work. Tomorrow morning, do not touch your phone until you've done 3 deep breaths and dropped into your chosen state for 20 seconds. That's it. One single choice that sets the frequency for your entire day. You're not trying to control what happens. You're choosing which version of what happens you get to experience. And once you see it work even once, you'll never want to start your day any other way. Alright, let's get real about results because nobody's going to keep doing this if they don't see evidence that it's actually working. The problem is, most people are looking for the wrong kind of proof. They want the $1 million check, the perfect relationship, the complete life transformation in 48 hours. And when that doesn't show up, they quit and say this stuff doesn't work. But here's what they miss. The field doesn't jump straight to the big manifestation. It sends you signals first. Little breadcrumbs that say, yes, you're on the right frequency, keep going. These signals usually show up within 24 to 72 hours if you're genuinely holding the state. And if you learn to recognize them, they become the fuel that keeps you consistent. Because once you see the pattern, once you realize the universe is actually responding, everything changes. The first signal is micro-synchronicity. And it's so subtle that most people dismiss it as coincidence. You think of someone you haven't talked to in months, and they text you that same day. You need specific information, and a podcast episode about exactly that topic pops up in your feed. You're looking for a solution, and a stranger in line at the coffee shop randomly mentions something that gives you the answer. Pay attention to this. Deepak Chopra calls these messages from the field, reality's way of confirming you're dialed into the right channel. The second signal is that your recovery time from emotional triggers gets shorter. Someone says something that would normally ruin your whole day, and you're back to center in 5 minutes instead of 5 hours. That's not suppression. That's sovereignty. Your nervous system is learning to default to coherence instead of chaos. Third signal, your intuition becomes binary. No more mental gymnastics trying to figure out what to do. Your body just gives you a clear, yes, this, or no, not that. A tightness in your chest means no. An openness, an expansion, means yes. It's that simple, and it's that accurate. Here's where it gets even better. The fourth signal is that a blocker suddenly unblocks. That email you've been avoiding writing for weeks, you sit down and it flows out in 10 minutes. That conversation you've been dreading, it happens naturally and goes way better than you expected. That project that felt impossible, suddenly you see the next step and you take it without overthinking. This isn't willpower. This is alignment. When you're operating from coherence, resistance dissolves because you're no longer fighting against your own frequency. And the fifth signal, my favorite one, you start experiencing what I call bolsões de fluxo, pockets of flow. Hours disappear while you're working and it doesn't feel like work. Tasks that used to drain you suddenly feel effortless. You're in the zone, in the pocket, riding the wave instead of struggling against the current. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent his whole career studying flow states, and what he found is that they don't happen by accident. They happen when your internal state matches the frequency of the task at hand. That's what you're creating with this practice. So here's what I want you to do. Over the next 3 days, watch for these 5 signals. And when you notice one, even just one, come back and drop a comment that says, I turned the key. and tell us which signal showed up. Because once you start seeing them, you can't unsee them. And that's when this stops being a practice and starts being your new operating system. So here we are. You've got the whole map now. The quantum switch, the steps, the signals, the proof that this actually works. But here's the thing. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. You can watch this video, nod your head, feel inspired for 10 minutes, and then go right back to the same patterns that have been running your life on autopilot. Or you can do something different. You can take what you just learned and actually use it today, not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not when you feel more ready. Today, right now. Because the version of you that's living the life you actually want isn't waiting for perfect conditions. They're operating from a different frequency, and that frequency is available to you this very second. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this. What would change in your life if you spent the next 7 days holding your chosen state for just 20 seconds, 30 times a day? What conversations would you finally have? What actions would you finally take? What opportunities would suddenly become visible that you've been blind to because you've been tuned to the wrong channel? And here's the harder question. What's it costing you to keep living from your default programming? What relationships are you missing? What dreams are you delaying? What version of yourself are you leaving on the table because you'd rather stay comfortable in the familiar struggle than step into the uncomfortable expansion? You already know the answer. You've always known. The only question is whether you're finally ready to stop negotiating with your potential and start embodying it. Here's what I want you to do right now, before you click away and let this moment dissolve into the noise of your day. Set one alarm on your phone for tomorrow morning, just one. And when it goes off, before you touch anything else, take 3 breaths and drop into your chosen state for 20 seconds. That's your first rep. That's the beginning of the new timeline. And then come back here and tell me what happened. Drop a comment with the first signal you notice. Because I promise you, when you show up differently, reality shows up differently. This isn't theory anymore. This is your life, and you're the one holding the remote. So, if this resonated with you, if something in you knows this is the shift you've been looking for, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Because we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore about how consciousness shapes reality, how your nervous system holds the keys to your future, and how you can become the kind of person who doesn't just survive life, but consciously creates it. Don't just consume this content. Apply it, embody it, and watch what happens. I'll see you in the next one. Now go turn that key.